Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, joined as always by Joe Resinello. And once more, dear friends, we are going into the breach. And there's just, we say it every week, but it's true. It's just way so much to talk about. Joe and I had a conversation, like, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. We had to pick as many as we could because it's just one atrocity after another that we have to cover on the show, which we're more than happy to do for all you wonderful people who follow us every week here on Facebook Live at 8 o'clock every Sunday night sharp, right? And we want to, who we thank at time? We got a lot of people that are.
Well, I was going to say, I want to dedicate the show to Patrick Fahey. He passed away at 87. He was married 59 years to one woman, raised 8 kids. All the people from Rutherford who are listening tonight. So shout out to Patrick. This show's for you. Went to the wake today. And he was a good man.
Yeah, the sad thing is that, you know, the modern America would say that guy was nuts for having 8 kids and being married to the same woman for 59 years. God bless you, Patrick.
Exactly.
God bless you in eternal rest. We pray that the Lord grant unto you. That's, as we always talk about, that's a good life.
I would say.
Okay? Long marriage, lots of kids, and then go to heaven.
My goal.
That's it. So where we well, let's give a quick shout out to Jonathan Ross up in Toronto, Canada at HolyFaith Media. Is always supporting the show. Functions as our producer, cleans up everything, makes it nice and presentable over on YouTube. Joe Campo over in Brooklyn, always having our back. We want to thank particularly the Crusade channel, Mike Church, who runs the Crusade channel, Rick Barrett. We filled in a couple weeks ago for. The link is on our Facebook page, where you could go and listen to the audio of our radio show. Joe and I filled in for Rick Barrett, who was gracious enough to let us come on and talk about the things that we're talking about here at the front line. They're doing it down there in the Crusade channel down in Louisiana. We're doing it here in Jersey. Others are doing it in Southern California. We're starting a movement in this country. You know what it's a movement towards? The truth.
Well, there it is.
The truth of things. There is always the truth of things. It's an objective truth. It's not a relative. There is no such thing as relative truth. There's something's true or something's false, and we get into all those things, all those lies out there that people tell, particularly in our culture, the swamp of a culture, the swamp of our politics, and we just blow big gaping holes in their arguments by telling the truth.
And just to piggyback on that, the truth is not an opinion, and the truth is not something that's your truth or my truth. The truth is the truth. You have an opinion, there is the truth, and that's what this show is about. As Joe has always said, we don't look left or right, we look up, we speak the truth.
That's right.
And one person speaking the truth could stand up against the whole world.
Right, and we have to.
And one person did do that, and his name was Jesus Christ. And we are followers, not just believers, because Jesus was not looking for believers, he was looking for followers. That's what disciple means. That's what we try to be. And we're going to follow his lead, and we're going to speak and live the truth. And that's what the front line is all about.
That's right.
We're going to do a little follow-up story to our for our friends out in Texas. This is that story about that young boy who's 7 years old, whose mom is trying to transition him into a girl. Just to give you a little background on the story, his mom, when he was 3, he was playing with a toy from McDonald's that was meant for a young girl. His mother took that as a cue that he was a girl. From that point on, started to treat him as a female and called him, instead of his God-given name, James, Luna. No joke.
No joke.
From there, she registered him at the age of 5 in kindergarten as a girl.
As Luna.
And then his dad was fighting for him, and finally it's basically kind of locked up in court right now. There's a gag order on the father. He can't speak about it, but there's been some information leaked through a Facebook page that the family runs. You could look it up. It's called the Save James page. Basically what they has conveyed, and there's been a couple articles that came from that page, saying that James is now going to school as a boy, and he's happy about it.
That's right.
Also, a couple things about that. Couple facts I just want to share, and then we could have a little bit of a discussion. But James chose for himself to wear boys' clothes to go to school while he's with his dad. In the picture, of the article, he's smiling from ear to ear, dressed up as a little boy, as all 7-year-olds should be. When you're 7, you should be happy. And he looks very happy. Pictures tell a lot of things. So the kid looks happy, dressed up as a boy. The father has argued in court that James does not personally want to be a girl, and has actually said that in one instance in the middle of the night, he took all of the dresses that his mother tried to put him in and threw them out.
God bless this kid.
So this is some facts. And lastly, what do we got here? Now, that's basically it. But basically, that's where we're at with that, just to kind of follow up.
You know how we always talk about projection, right? It's like always projection. So the mother in this case, okay, has projected the name that she is onto her son by calling him Luna, because she's a lunatic. So you got to know where a lunatic comes from? People whose brains are over the moon. Luna in Italian, la luna, okay? And that's what she is. She's a lunatic. So she calls her young boy Luna because that's what she is.
Well, in all honesty, I don't want to like bash the woman, but she's a sick person.
Joe, if I was calling her names, it'd be one thing. She is a lunatic. She's a lunatic.
She is a sick person.
This young boy wants to be a boy. Okay? She's been trying like hell, and I use that word specifically, like hell, to convince him that he's a girl. Okay? She is a lunatic. And she's this whole case is being investigated by the governor of Texas. And it's about time that somebody says, we want an investigation into this. Because you know what we always call it? What others have called it, not us, scientists, medical professionals, psychiatric professionals, that this is child abuse.
And 20 years ago, she would be put in prison. 20 short years ago, this mother would be put in jail. And like Joe said, we're not listening to the medical professionals, people like Paul McHugh at Johns Hopkins University,
right?
People like the Pediatrics Association. We're not listening to them. We're listening to the loud voices in the culture. We're listening to Hollywood.
I was just going to say.
Clearly, this is not based upon science, sadly, and the only victim here is young James.
Well, he's being unvictimized by his father. And let's pray for his father, because as it is right now, all decisions regarding James, because that's his name, James, have to be made jointly. If they can't come to an agreement, there's a mediator that's going to make the decision for them. Let's pray the mediator has some sanity and is not a lunatic like Dr. Gorgulis, who that's the name of the mother. I guess that's her maiden name. Gorgulis.
Well, I think Gorgulis is the doctor.
No. Gorgulis is the mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it must be her maiden name, because James's father's last name is Younger. Anyway, all these people need our prayers, including the lunatic mom, okay, and the conservator that has been appointed by the court needs our prayers, so that the decisions that are made are going to be made in James's best interest, which is to affirm him in his masculinity. That's what needs to happen here. And we have some good people down in Texas. You got Greg Abbott, the governor, and Ken Paxton, the attorney general, okay? 2 solid guys that are going to make sure that this young man is not going to be manipulated by his mother. And by the way, the people who are pulling his mother's strings, because you know there's always a string being pulled somewhere.
So sad.
So we'll keep you updated on that story. Started out with only 2 news outlets, 3. A Russian news outlet, it was the Texan and LifeSite. Now it's all over the place. Joe and I started talking about this about a month ago, so we will keep you informed. But this is actually a positive development.
Absolutely.
Positive development. This young man is smiling, dressed in boys' clothes, and is being affirmed by his father in his masculinity. That's how this child needs to progress.
Well, it's about time we started to talk about the coup, i.e. the impeachment. We haven't really covered it on the show because, frankly, I don't really take it too seriously. And actually, neither does the American people. But I just would like to have a little segment on that. I think it's important. Basically, if you look inside the newsrooms, the broadcast studios, and Twitter, the impeachment's going pretty much according to plan. But outside those bubbles, it is not. And I'm going to give you some case in point, I think, talking points, and then we could have a little bit of a discussion. Keep this in mind. 0 Republicans voted for this in the House.
Yeah, remember, Justin Amash, that's his name, right? Justin Amash is not a Republican. Okay, he's not. So he wasn't. He voted for the this inquiry. Okay, but he's not a Republican. Joe, I'm going to repeat what Joe said. Zero Republicans voted for this,
and 2 Democrats voted with the Republicans.
Right.
Okay, there's that point. 38% of the independents, as in the voters who determine who is the president, are not for impeachment.
Right.
Also, the polls that are working very hard to show growing support for impeachment have seen a decrease in support in Americans as the probe has gone forward.
Mm-hmm.
All this is, and I want to be very clear, this is nothing. It's very similar to the Russian hoax that went on for 18 months. All this is a smokescreen to carry into the election to cloud the American people's voting for Donald Trump.
That's right.
Nothing more, nothing less, posturing, garbage. And I'm going to tell you this. This is a very dark day for America, and I'm going to tell you why. Like him or not, Donald Trump was fairly elected by the people of this country, and the powers that be are basically telling the people of America, as they're doing right now in England with Brexit,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you wanted this man to be president, but we're getting rid of him.
Right. We don't care.
This is a dangerous, and I'm going to tell you this. You are entitled to not like Donald Trump. You are entitled to not vote for Donald Trump. But if you support this nonsense, you should know that it can happen to your candidate too.
Right.
This is a dangerous, dangerous practice against democracy. This is as illegitimate as it comes.
And let's make a point. Let's make a point abundantly clear. And this is one of the things that the left knows. This is one of the unfair things in this country. Okay, Joe's right. The shoe will be on the other foot at some point. All right, and Republicans would be in a position. Let's say if you had a Pocahontas, all right, Senator Elizabeth Warren, or some of these others. Okay, to look for them to trip up. Or not trip up, but use something that might be ambiguous to try to impeach them. But the one thing, and this is the unfairness, this is why the left gets away with it, and this is why they know they could get away with this, is because the media is on their side. And the media is carrying their water during this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And the media is so complicit that when they say Donald Trump assaults the First Amendment, you in the media, all right, you mainstream media people, you are the ones who have no respect for the First Amendment. You just want to say what you want whenever it's convenient for you to say, to try to attack Donald Trump politically. You have no respect for freedom of the press. The only thing you want is freedom to lie. That's what you want. The freedom to confuse, the freedom to manipulate. But you're not telling the truth. Please don't try to convince us all that you're defenders of the truth.
They're not. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You're not fooling the American people. This is a partisan issue. And all the people, I want you to think, all the people who listen to my voice, who aren't true believers and haven't drank the Kool-Aid of the Democratic Party, who actually think for themselves and aren't just pulling levers because they're not thinking. This is absolute nonsense. Yep. And it's dangerous for our republic. This is a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous practice.
Does it strike you, because we always try to figure out, well, what's their end game? They realize by looking at the polls, the Electoral College looks like it's going to go even more overwhelmingly for Trump than it did the last time. They know that. Okay?
Well, they know they're going to lose.
They know that in the swing states, okay, people are saying, the vast majority of people are saying, there's an election in a year. We'll worry about it then. We're not interested in this impeachment. And those people are breaking for Donald Trump. We reported 2 months ago that the African-American approval rating for Donald Trump is over 25%. That the Hispanic approval rating for Donald Trump is higher than that. Okay? That Trump carried a majority of Catholics the last time around, okay, who swung back from voting for Obama and may get more because Donald Trump has been firmly on the side of life. They see this handwriting on the wall. So you have to ask yourself, which is my original question, purposely, because they're leftists, they have no value for the Constitution. They have no concern for the Constitution. They're leftists. What they want is they want to cripple our democracy. They want to do that in any way they can, because let's face it, you just got done saying it. They don't care about democracy.
No.
And this whole fight against Donald Trump, look, for our entire lives, it's all I ever heard about from Hollywood and politics and culture is we're all supposed to worry about democracy. It's such an attack on our democracy. You're the ones who attack and want to destroy our democracy. Donald Trump, as Joe pointed out, was a legitimately elected president of the United States. Period, exclamation point. You have to win an election. And you can't make things up about him, which is what you're doing. Okay, we won't even get into, because it's too nauseating for you and for us, and you could see it all on the news. The tactics that you're using. Adam Schiff is basically being the commissar. He is right now making Joseph Stalin, who's roasting in hell. He's making Joseph Stalin proud, because that's how much of a scam show trial this is.
And if you're entitled to not like Trump. You're also entitled not to vote for Trump. You should not be for this mockery of our republic. This is a mockery of democracy. Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. If Donald Trump did something worthy of impeachment, I would be for it, the impeachment. If he did something, then he's got to go. But he didn't. I got news for you. I have more beef with Obama, with Benghazi, than I do with Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. By the way, a man was murdered.
Four. Chris Stevens and
there you go.
And three others.
That was absolutely, legitimately his fault.
And remember what Hillary said, but what difference does it make?
And so please, this is a joke, as the Russian deal was a joke. It was a joke.
Notice how
it cost $25 million of your money.
But notice how it's not in the news anymore. This is what I mean. The media had you all convinced, had us all convinced, because they convinced themselves in their warped, twisted, what's the word we used in the first segment, lunatic minds, that Trump had to have something. He colluded with the Russians. How does a story like that all of a sudden die? Because Mueller and others testifying in front of Congress blew it all up. They blew up their narrative, and now they've found this Ukraine thing, which means nothing, where there's obvious collusion with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden threatening to withhold the $1 billion if the prosecutor's not fired. You've heard it all. We don't have to rehash it here. The double standards, the hypocrisy, the lies. Our job, Joe and I, is to tell you this more than anything else. We're not telling you what to do. I'm going to wake up on Election Day. I am going to go get myself, because we're in Jersey, a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, and a wonderful cup of coffee, and some great home fries along with my sandwich. And I am going to vote, and I'm going to go vote for Donald Trump. And I'm going to do it because of his position on life, first and foremost. But I know New Jersey is going to go blue. Joe knows New Jersey is going to go, but I want my vote registered. I want my vote registered in the numbers total at the end. And I want to say, yeah, to everybody out there, we're going to get into it in our last segment, because the bullying is starting already. To everybody out there, I'm going to say, no, I didn't vote for the lesser of two evils. I voted for the better candidate by voting for Donald Trump, and I don't care who they put up on the Democrat side. From Joe Biden to Tulsi Gabbard, or Mike Bloomberg now wants to get in the race. Don't care. I'm voting for the better candidate. Donald Trump is the better candidate. And that's the truth.
Well, there it is. We're going to go to Hollywood, our favorite place.
Oh, wife.
Our good friend Rob Reiner, who is affectionately known as Meathead on All in the Family, had some interesting statements on Twitter. Let me quote Joe P. what Mr. Reiner had to say.
Let's open our ears, because we have to talk about this. This is what I just got to saying about the bullying. Let's open our ears and let's hash this conversation out a little bit.
There has always been racism. There has always been ignorance. There have always been people subject to the lure of a cult. The sheer volume of Americans who are willingly following this lying, racist criminal is breathtaking. Notice he doesn't mention his name. That's right out of the playbook of Barack Obama. Let me talk a little bit about another comment he made in July, Mr. Reiner. The President of the United States is a racist. He made it abundantly clear his reelection is based on white nationalism. Here's the kicker. If you support him, there can be no distinction between you being a racist and a racist enabler. They are the same.
Do you know the question I had in my head? I know this. I know this is something we really need to fight against. You know how I would be satisfied with Rob Reiner, where I would give him even the time of day for 1 second. I want him publicly to go say that to Jim Brown's face. Jim Brown, not Kanye West, not black conservatives. I want Rob Reiner, meathead, okay, to go and say that. I want him to call the names that he's calling Trump supporters. I want him to go up to Jim Brown, former running back for the Cleveland Browns, okay, Hall of Fame running back who has been supporting Donald Trump. I want meathead to go and throw those names at Jim Brown. And I want to see the reaction of Jim Brown. I'd be surprised if Rob Reiner is not nursing a headache from the right cross that Jim Brown would give them for calling. Who are you going to call Jim Brown? A white supremacist or enabler? You're going to call Jim Brown, who's always been pretty much a man of the left, okay, who was open-minded to Donald Trump, okay, decided to support Donald Trump, okay, but Jim Brown's no knee-jerk conservative. Not by any means. And
25% of the black community is voting for Donald Trump.
That's right. So I want Meathead to go say that to Jim Brown if he wants to get the respect of the front line with Joe and Joe. Here's my guess, and I don't think that this is a far-fetched one. He's not going to do that. He'll just keep doing this. What I wanted to say, what I want to mention before, I said this before on the show. I'll say it again. Back in 2016, I saw it firsthand on my job. I work in New York City. So does Joe. And all the little libs who are my friends, I love them, and I mean that sincerely. It's not lip service. I love them dearly. Looking at me, you're not really voting for Trump, are you? Or anybody who votes for Trump is a racist, dude. And I had to listen to this from people who know I was voting for Donald Trump. They're starting their bullying now, a year before the election, to try to shame us and bully us to staying home. You want to know something? It didn't work in 2016. I dare say it's not going to work this time around.
Here's the thing. You don't have a right without evidence to call people names publicly. If you say them, that's called slander. If you write them, it's called libel. There are laws against this.
That's right.
So what I would say to Mr. Reiner is simply this. Where is your evidence? Where is your evidence? They always poured to Charlottesville. But Charlottesville was not. That was taken out of context because all he said was, there are good people on both sides of this argument.
That was his sin, though. You see, remember something about Charlottesville. Let's get it straight. Every time they talk about, every time they talk about Antifa, every time they talk about Black Lives Matter, every time they talk about these violent groups out on the street, the knee-jerk response of the left is, well, what about Charlottesville? You want to know something? I'm going to say this straight up. That was a put-up job. It was staged, and a girl lost her life for that sham. Those people who did not want the statue taken down were joined. They didn't ask those white Nazis, the Nazis or whoever they were, to join them. Those people were standing there that were defending the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'll tell you straight up, the same way I would stand in front of St. Francis Xavier Church on Bloomfield Avenue in Newark, New Jersey, if Antifa tried to tear down the statue of Christopher Columbus. That's right. There were good people there. And no, they were not all yelling, kill the Jews or whatever these Nazis were yelling. And that was Trump's point. But they were sent there. Don't you understand? This is not conspiracy theory. Those neo-Nazis were sent there. They were sent there, and then those people didn't know what to do. Those people that were defending the statue or protesting the protest, so to speak, they didn't know these guys were going to show up and do it. But the point is, they keep saying that Donald Trump refused to condemn everybody who was against Antifa.
And all he said was, before I make a statement, I have to know all the facts. He looked at all the facts, and then he made a statement.
That's right.
That's just fair.
Right. No, you can't do that, Joe.
The press is not fair. And I challenge anyone who's listening to our voice, show me evidence that he is a racist. Hard and fast. And by the way, wanting a border wall doesn't make you a racist.
That's right. That was Barack Obama's position. That was Bill Clinton's position. That was
Having
Hillary
a
Clinton.
legitimate border does not make you a racist.
But that's how they try to frame it, though.
But
well, look at how I told you this.
So
I heard this
sick.
right. I heard this right out of the mouth of a black leftist friend of mine. So I said, what did he ever say about black people? That you're calling him a racist? He goes, well, look at the way he talks about those Mexicans, man. So if he feels that way about them, he's got to feel that way about me. I said, you can't do that. And this guy's a Christian. He calls himself self-identified Christian. I said, you can't do that. You can't make it seem like, number one, it's a lie to say he's racist against Hispanics, but then say, and because of his view on the border, that means he hates black people. I wish everybody hated me the way Donald Trump hates black people, with the lowest unemployment in the history of the United States as far as the black population
as well
is
as the
concerned,
Hispanic
as well as
population.
Hispanics, and as well as women. Okay, so the thing is, the hatred is made up.
Well, it's contrived, and that's what I challenge all the good people out there to please look at the facts. Clearly, the press has an agenda and a narrative. This man, there is no evidence, and you know something, Mr. Reiner has no right to say this because your opinion isn't evidence.
That's right.
Evidence means this is why, and Charlottesville is not evidence. There is no evidence that point to the fact that Donald Trump is a racist. None. Zero.
Right. How about when they call him? Here's the other thing, too. How insulting. Like, this is Rob Reiner, Mr. Liberal, right, in Hollywood. He's calling people that support Donald Trump white nationalists.
You would think,
real quick. Rob Reiner, there's a lot of Jews that support Donald Trump. There's a lot of black people that support Donald Trump. There's a lot of Hispanics that support Donald Trump. You're going to try to convince people that they're white nationalists? Are you? I mean, you're supposedly the smart guy. You're an elitist liberal. You live in Hollywood. You would think you're a smart guy.
But
how could you make that statement?
You would think that they would learn from the past. Hillary Clinton, if you recall, called half of America a term. It was called deplorable. What happened to her? A lot of political strategists, not me, read it, said that was a humongous error.
That's right.
That fueled people to go out and vote for Donald Trump. And statements like this are not hurting Donald Trump. They're actually helping him.
You're making people, rather than go out there and run a positive campaign, by saying that you want to do this, that, or the other thing, and you disagree with Donald Trump on this, that, or the other thing. We understand politics is a bare knuckle sport. We understand it could get down and dirty, okay? But no. See, Barack Obama, even though he screwed up a couple times, especially when he talked about people who were out of work clinging to God and guns. So he skirted with a little bit, but then he brought it back because he realized there was a microphone actually recording him, okay? You don't go out there and win elections by calling people deplorable, by saying that if you support Donald Trump, because you know what you do, Mr. Reiner? I might not open my mouth, in other words, in public, but again, on election day, with my coffee and my tailor ham, egg, and cheese, okay? I'm going to go pull the lever for Donald Trump and every other pro-life Republican that I could vote along with him. And that's the bottom line. You're making a bad mistake, but you want to know something? I did feel like we did them a favor. We shouldn't do them any favors. Let them keep going down that road, and they're, like Joe just said, they're going to pay the price the same way they did in 2016, and they all could be crying at midnight on election night.
Well, what it is, he's just venting his anger and frustration, sadly. Again, if you want to win, that's not the way to do it. Beat him with ideas. You see, sadly, they don't have ideas. This is the I hate the orange man.
Right.
That's the idea.
Orange man bad.
And they tried with Russia. Now they're trying with this coup, which they call an impeachment, which is a disgrace to our country, and it's a dangerous, dangerous proposal. If you don't see it that way, you might see it coming your way next time around.
Jojo, the swing states, let me tell you something, the swing states, Donald Trump listen, guy's a smart guy, whether you like him or not, okay? He was in Minnesota, did a rally, and he was in New Mexico and did a rally. And he would not be there if he didn't feel like he could pick off those states. Okay, and this is what they're afraid of. Think of it this way too, and then we'll put a finer point on it, and we'll move on. The only thing I could think of is that they know that losing is so inevitable, all right, especially with the Electoral College. Okay, they may get the popular vote again, but word to all you libs out there, we don't elect president by popular vote. We have an electoral college.
And never did.
And never did. We never did vote by elect by popular vote. The electoral college, and by the way, it's here to stay. But you know, we shouldn't even warn them. We should let them continue to do what they're doing. And then Donald Trump is just going to turn around. Oh, that was my point. Is that unless they feel like with this impeachment nonsense, they can actually damage him so badly as to effectively neuter him in some way, which that to me would be a horrible calculation on their part, because the guy's not going to be neutered in any way, unless they're trying to do that so that when the next time that he puts up another conservative judge for the Supreme Court or for the Federal Circuit Court or for the federal judiciary, they're going to say, no. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm just being hypothetical. I don't know what their end game is, because he's going to win, number one, and number two, he will have literally nothing to lose. Not that he has anything to lose now. He'll literally have nothing to lose once he gets reelected. He's already their worst nightmare. If it could get any worse, keep doing what you're doing and watch him get reelected. And I just think they're toast. They're toast on all these things, because they could have taken the opportunity to work with the guy who's essentially a pragmatist.
And he's not an ideologue.
He's not an ideologue.
This is the interest. My wife and I were just talking about this today. Barack Obama was an ideologue.
Yeah.
He was, my friends. This man will work with you on many things, but you simply hate him to death.
Right.
And he would work with you on the border. He would work with you on many things.
How about the USMCA? How about that benefits workers and farmers? The USMCA and the renegotiation of NAFTA benefits workers and farmers. Democrats are supposed to be in favor of that.
Infrastructure.
They won't even talk about the USMCA. They will not give him one win. Not one, even if it's a bipartisan win, they will not give it to him.
That makes you un-American.
And that makes you...
That's what that makes you. You do not love this country.
Right. Because while those farmers are very confused about what's going on right now, you are causing that confusion on the Democrat side, because you refuse to talk about, in this case, USMCA, okay? Or you refuse to talk about all these different issues because you just want to delegitimize him as much as you could. And that's that. So let's give a couple shout outs. Is it good? Thank you all for joining me. Frontline with Joe and Joe, 8 o'clock Sunday nights on Facebook Live, like clockwork. All right. Give a shout out. Joe Campbell just joined us. Jonathan Ross up in Toronto. Want to thank Mike Church over at the Crusade channel. We're going to be talking to you more about that. We filled in a couple weeks ago down there, and that was an awesome, awesome opportunity for us. And we want to thank all you beautiful people who sit there and listen to the two Jamokes from North Jersey talk about politics, society, culture, and Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. Particularly Vinny joining us. Rita, thank you for joining us. My baby's joining us. Madeline's checking in. Hi, Madeline. Where else we had? Catherine Sue joined in. Eddie, my man Eddie, what's happening? And Joe Campo, as we already said, joined in. So we are in the breach. Joe Resinello, where are we going next?
Well, this is an interesting one. I think you'll find it interesting. I did. We're going to go to YouTube. Basically, YouTube this week removed a video of a doctor discussing the medical realities of transgenderism. The excuse that they gave to take this off was they said that it would the conservative news outlet was called the Daily Signal. And basically they said there was one sentence used in this particular clip that they classified as a violation of their hate speech policy. So they said, we have to take it out. But let me just tell you what this YouTube clip said. Again, this is a doctor. She's a pediatrician. Her name, because names are important, Dr. Michelle Cretella. She's, again, a pediatrician, and she's the executive director at the American Academy of Pediatricians.
Isn't that a fascist organization? You would think if you were listening to YouTube.
Sounds pretty legitimate to me. This isn't George Clooney. This isn't Madonna.
Lady Gaga.
This isn't Meathead. This is a doctor who is the executive director at the American Academy of Pediatrics. Okay, what does she say? Hold on one second. My phone is ringing.
It's off. It's off.
Okay. This is what Dr. Cretella said. If you want to cut off a leg or an arm, you're mentally ill.
That seems to make sense.
But if you want to cut off healthy breasts or a penis, you're transgender.
The logic there seems to me to be impeccable.
Oh, my goodness. the clarity on that statement's unbelievable.
Right.
Basically, what she's saying is, this is nonsense.
It's mutilation.
Bingo.
And if you want to mutilate your body, obviously you are mentally ill. There is something wrong with you. If you hate your body, then there is a disorder there that requires treatment. Again, this is not throwing rocks at people and beating them up because they suffer from a disorder. It's the recognition that there is a disorder for which there's treatment. Again, this woman is a doctor. What did she really say that YouTube banned her? Don't mutilate yourself. And if you are a person who seeks to mutilate yourself, you're in need of help.
Well,
I'll
tell you what another doctors said, because we're not just saying that these people are mentally ill. The American Psychiatric Association, they call people who have this inclination to transition into the opposite sex, they call it gender dysphoria. This is a term.
Right.
Okay, what does dysphoria mean? I actually looked this up out of curiosity. The definition of dysphoria. This is what it means. Difficult or to bear is a profound state of uneasiness or dissatisfaction. Now, this is the important part. In a psychiatric context, dysphoria may accompany depression, anxiety, or agitation. Does this sound like someone who is in the correct state of mind? No.
No.
And this is the American Psychiatric Association.
And their job, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, as a psychiatric association, is to point these things out, make people aware of these things so that they can seek treatment for these things. Well, now let's go back a month where you had the non-heterosexual LGBT CNN-produced Democrat town hall, and Julian Castro turns around and says, we are here to affirm you in your identity, in the identity that you choose.
It sounds like the American psychiatric folks aren't affirming them.
Right.
They want to help them.
They want to help them because we've said before, and we will say a million times to anyone who will listen, the person who is encouraging, or in the case of Castro, affirming these people, truly doesn't care about them. Truly does not care about them. All right. And we say this all the time at the front line with Joe and Joe. We say this from our hearts. We're Catholic men. All right. We love because we're commanded to love. We love because we have love in our hearts. And what's necessary to love another human being is to tell the truth. We want the truth told to us, okay, because we don't want to be lied to, and we tell the truth to others. Those who are suffering, and yes, they're suffering. That's what Dr. Quintella is trying to say, okay, should not be confirmed in the thing that's making them suffer. They should be offered help and treatment. The government wastes trillions of dollars, trillions with a T. I don't like government spending, nor does Joe. I would be in favor of some kind of government spending that would actually help these people.
And you know,
I actually would.
The interesting thing, too, that we're not really discussing is, you notice YouTube took it down.
Yes.
You see, they know that this is a compelling argument because they know that it's coming from a doctor, and she's the executive director of the Pediatric Association.
Right.
And she's saying this, particularly pediatrics, which is exactly the agenda, sadly, in the teachers union, which is pushing this nonsense on our children in the public school.
Mm-hmm.
So they know this is damaging, and they take it down.
Right.
You see, that should tell you something too. Where is the free speech? We're so tolerant. Well, you have a doctor. She's a doctor.
Do you know what happens on Google? If I'm just giving you a totally different example, off-topic example. If you Googled, let's say I say this because I actually did this, okay, to show you exactly what Google, and by extension YouTube, because Google owns YouTube, what they're all about. You want to talk about offensive? I Googled one time because I know that a lot of the history that's being told, especially in regards to church history, the history of the Catholic Church, usually involves a whole lot of lies. So I Googled one time the true history of the Crusades, because I wanted to see an objective, or read an objective, historical account of the Crusades. It took me page after page after page after page to find one person who wrote an article a few years ago. I think his name is Thomas Madden, Professor Thomas Madden. My point being is that everything that preceded me finding that was an article that basically told a lot of lies about the Catholic Church, okay, and a lot of lies and leftist propaganda about, let's say, an atheist attacks on the Catholic Church in regards to the Crusades. I say that to make the point that Google and YouTube are not afraid of offending people. They're just afraid of offending certain people because they have no problem offending Catholics in particular. They have no problem offending Christians, okay? And let's face it, what else did they? Didn't they take down PragerU? Am I correct?
I didn't know that.
They took down PragerU and suspended PragerU. Dennis Prager's a Jew. What's the matter? No charges of anti-Semitism are ever leveled against you. You took down a video series produced by a Jewish American, Dennis Prager, okay? Because it was considered a violation of your community standards. So let's be clear. You have no community standards. You protect the politically protected groups. You protect black people. You protect Hispanic people. You protect feminists. You protect, and by the way, only leftist black people and leftist
I was
Hispanic.
just going to say, because
Okay.
we protect black people.
Yes, we do too. Like I said, Jim Brown knocking out Rob Reiner. You protect, we know you don't really care about homosexuals because you didn't have anything to say when Andy Ngo got the crap beat out of him by a bunch of Antifa thugs. So let's be clear. You are only protecting those leftist and politically correct groups of people that you want to protect. That is spot on truth about what Google and YouTube are doing, and Facebook by extension too. Okay, because they do it too. Zuckerberg sitting up there, and he's well, senator and everything. He doesn't even know what to say. He's being bombarded because it's obvious. Just like the media has been arguing for the last 30 years that they're not biased. Of course you're biased. What do you think? We really are all that stupid? We're really not. That's why their ratings are in the toilet.
And that's
by the
why
way.
we have this show. And there are many shows like this. That's where the true news is. I got news for you. There is the news. Because the news is garbage. Journalism is dead. And I will agree with Donald Trump. The news media outlets are the enemy of the people
They
of
are.
the United States.
They couldn't stand that when Donald Trump said that.
Because
When
it
he said,
terrifies them.
right.
I watch their eyes twitch when I watch.
How could you call us the enemy of the American? Because you are. You've been the enemy of the American people. I can remember back when I was a kid. The same thing happened to Reagan supporters in the 1970s. Okay, my father, okay, who voted for Ronald Reagan, who, by the way, also voted for John F. Kennedy, okay, and then voted for Richard Nixon. All right, and then voted for Reagan, okay? Bottom line is, my father and people like him, they were vilified. My father was a union man. How could you vote for that guy? He's anti-union. And all the thuggery and all the bullying that went on then. And the media allows it. Again, don't think that the media is defending the defenseless. They're not, okay? They are decidedly on one side of this issue, and that's the leftist side of this issue. So, as again, I'm going to point out, poor Andy Ngo. All right, young self-identified homosexual gets the crap beat out of him by Antifa, and you know what the liberal media has to say about it? Nothing. Didn't defend this guy for nothing. Dan Savage, homosexual, anti-Catholic, bigot, activist. The church is the worst thing that ever happened. Lapsed Catholic himself. I didn't hear one word out of his mouth in defense of Andy Ngo. You know why? Because Dan Savage is a leftist homosexual. Andy Ngo's sin is that he's gay, all right, but he's conservative. That's his sin. So I've had enough of their hypocrisy.
Well, there it is. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to go to the National Abortion Federation. I didn't even know such an organization existed until I came across this article. But I think this is an interesting little discussion that we're about to have. Basically, the NAF announced a new president and CEO. Okay, what's so newsworthy about that? She's a lesbian Episcopal priest and longtime abortion activist. Now, why do I bring this up?
I'm sorry, Joe.
But why do I bring this up? How can a person of God be for abortion?
Because she's not of God.
Correct.
I don't care what she says. She's not of God.
I've said this on the show, and this is why we chose to talk about this. Not that she's a lesbian, not that she's a female, a priest in the Episcopal flavor of Christianity. It's because she is a self-proclaimed person of God, and she's for abortion. Not only is she for abortion, she is the president and CEO of a prominent organization that promotes abortion. I want to give you a little quote from her. This is what she said. She said, which boggles my mind. I don't know what to say. She says, abortion providers are some of my personal heroes and modern day saints.
Saints.
This person is so twisted. Listen, I am not perfect. I'll be the first one to say it. This is so incongruent with the truth. This is so illogical that a person who puts themselves out as a priest of a Christian denomination can not only vote for abortion, particularly the flavor abortion that this country is serving up, third trimester abortions. You can have an abortion the day before you have a child. So just so all you folks know who are voting Democratic, that's what you're voting for. 2,500 children are murdered a day in America. This woman is a priest in her denomination, and she's not only promoting abortion, she's
blessing it. Yes. She's blessed.
Well put.
She's blessed.
I completely don't understand it.
And her alongside
I don't know what to say.
And let's be clear. I know Joe's not going to like that I use this word, but her and a bunch of other heretical Christians, because that's what they are, okay, stand in front of an abortion clinic and say that God blesses the work that's done at the abortion clinic. Now, you don't believe in God, or you reject God. You believe in him, but you reject him. God gives you free will, okay? And as Joe always points out, God is a gentleman, and he doesn't force himself, okay? Bottom line is you can either accept him or reject him. These people are particularly bad because what they are is they're deceivers. That's a big problem, okay, for them, all right? And their deception needs to be pointed out because to the uninformed, they may come across as very pastoral and very loving and very compassionate for everybody involved except the baby who's about to be killed in the womb, okay? And then to have the nerve, the absolute nerve to say that God blesses the work that's done at Planned Parenthood and other death chambers in this country. What Kool-Aid are you drinking? What drugs are you on? You pick up the Bible and you have no respect for human life? And then you try to peddle that to other people? By the way, that's why Protestantism in America has failed, okay, as it has in Europe, because of nonsense like that.
Well, what I would say to her name is Catherine Rigsdale. I don't know if I said
Ragsdale.
Ragsdale.
I think it's Ragsdale.
Okay, but
I remember because the name had like a bit of an onomatopoetic ring to it, like in a negative way, like it's Ragsdale.
Well, there you go.
So that's the way I kind of saw that.
This is what I would basically say to her. Miss Ragsdale, religion is not on your side on this discussion. Logic is not on your side in this discussion. Science is not on your side, and nor will history. You are on the wrong side of history. If you are for abortion, I will tell you this, my friends, just as slavery was legal in this country, and clearly, I don't think there's a person who hears my voice would disagree with me, that if you were for slavery, you clearly were not on the wrong, you were on the wrong side of history. You are on the wrong side of history. And science says so. And they've made it very clear now in their new, basically, arguments. It used to be like, oh, it's a bunch of cells. Well, we know it's not.
We know it's not.
Science says it. It's not dogma. And they basically say, Joe, I might agree with you. I don't care.
I don't care. We said that before.
I don't care.
Jojo, they have lost, like you just pointed to, they have lost every argument. That's why they're really other than praying in front of Planned Parenthood and let's say performing that witness in the way that Catholics do, praying the rosary in front of Planned Parenthood and making our voices known. Don't try to argue with the pro-abortion stuff. Only God could get into their heart and change their heart, just like he did with a lot of people like Dr. Bernard Nathanson and many, many other people, Abby Johnson, a lot of people who were on that side. We know some people who were on that side who are now firmly on the pro-life side, okay, because they understand that they were wrong. Only God is going to pierce their hearts. Don't argue with them. Just exert as much political will as they do. That's what you need to do. Make abortion the first thing you vote for. The very first thing, more than anything else, okay? Taxes be damned, the border wall be damned, all of it be damned. Make abortion, all pro-life Americans, make abortion the first thing you vote for. And exert our political will on them. And when they say, well, let's have a dialogue. No, we've been trying to dialogue with you for 50 years. And what did we get? Andrew Cuomo signs a bill that allows abortion by anybody. The ice cream guy down the block can perform an abortion up till the day of birth under that law. Okay? The pharmacist could perform an abortion. A midwife can perform an abortion. That's what 50 years of dialogue gets you. Nowhere. Don't dialogue with these people. Witness when you can and exert your political will at all times. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to exert my political will in November of 2020 after my coffee and my Taylor ham, egg, and cheese by voting for Donald Trump. That is me exercising my political will on this disgusting issue.
And I implore every person of goodwill, particularly Christians and particularly Catholics, if a candidate, whether they are Republican or a Democrat, is for abortion, you are immediately disqualified. And I challenge the American bishops of this country to say just that. And some do.
Some did recently.
But most don't. I put it to you because that is the truth. This is the truth. Mm-hmm. And let the chips fall where they may.
Right.
Here's the deal, my friends. We are supposed to speak the truth if we believe in Christ. That is the truth. Mm-hmm. You are disqualified. You cannot be for somebody who is for killing children. Right. Impossible. You cannot support them. So my challenge is to every American bishop who hears my voice to stand up and speak the truth.
Like Bishop Paprocki did, and
Bishop
others.
Strickland.
Bishop Strickland down in Texas. You know, to make it very clear. You know what's funny is you always hear like the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, right? And she says, you know, we're gonna work with him when we can, and we'll fundamentally disagree when we can't work with him. In the meantime, you want to know what? When they talk about the country not being unified and we're so divided, they've divided it. Do you want to know why they've divided it? And we've said this before, because of abortion. They will not work with.
That's a great question.
They will not work with Donald Trump because Donald Trump has said, I'm going to nominate conservative judges to all the courts. Whoever he has the power to nominate, he's going to nominate conservatives, people from that list put together by the Heritage Foundation, okay, and I think it was the Federalist Society, and he's going to nominate people from that list. It is because of that one issue. It is only because of abortion that they have decided not to work with Donald Trump on anything. So and I only say this to say, who are the dividers? Who are the ones who don't want to come together? You see, what happens is if you work with Donald Trump and he actually shows himself, because he has, to be a practical politician, and he will work with you on the things that you want him to, Ms. Pelosi or Senator Chucky Schumer, he'll work with you. You can't let him have those victories because then that legitimizes his authority under the Constitution to nominate justices to the courts. And he said he's going to nominate conservative justices who more than likely, if given the opportunity, will overturn Roe versus Wade. My point is that you accuse us of being one-issue voters. First of all, I don't deny that. I am concerned about other issues, so is Joe. But the first and foremost issue is life and the protection of human life in the womb, okay? But you accuse us of that, but you do the same thing. You refuse to work with Donald Trump because of the fact that he is pro-life and he's going to appoint pro-life justices. You are the dividers. When you say that we have no unity in this country, word to the wise, you've caused it.
But also,
you've caused
I
it.
want to, because I obviously follow the news when we prepare for the show. We both do, Joe and I, and also like you look at social media. I'm going to make a little prophetic statement. When this Trump phenomenon era ends, and it will after another 4 years, you're going to hear a candidate, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican or both, and what they're going to say is, our platform is unity. You're already seeing little bits of it. I see it in social media. We have to unite the country. We have to, and I would agree with that. This is where I disagree. I will not unite on a lie. Then we're divided. You see, I will unite with the truth. I will not compromise the truth for unity. You see, that's not unity.
Right. It's not real unity.
Correct. And keep that in mind. I will not unite over a lie.
That's right.
And this narrative is already bubbling. You're going to get candidates. We have to unite. We have to unite. On some things we will be divided.
Let's expand on that a second, because we touched on it last week when we were talking about the distrust we should have for certain self-identified conservatives. Make no mistake about it. If you ask me, would you agree that Andrew Cuomo went so far to an extreme with the idea that if Roe versus Wade, first of all, if Roe versus Wade was overturned, abortion in New York State is still going to be legal. But what he did was he went so far so that any pullback would just basically bring them back to the point that they were before that law was passed. You know what I'm trying to say? It'll make it seem like they're compromising when they're not. They actually just went to where New York was 2 years ago. So my point is that, you know, Roe versus Wade gets overturned. It goes back to the states. Our fear when it comes to certain so-called conservatives is that they're going to accept the compromise.
Oh, without a doubt.
For that sake of that
I already could say it.
That you're saying that if you turn around and you say to them, look, country's divided on abortion. Most people are in the middle, okay, whatever that means. Abortion is going to be allowed for the first 4 months under all circumstances, okay, with very few restrictions. And then after that, there are no abortions. My fear is that the conservative movement would say, all right, let's sign it.
And this is where
that's scary.
This is where all religious leaders, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Christian, being Protestant and or Catholic, have to throw down and basically say, we will fight you. And not only will we fight you, we will tell our congregations that if you are for abortion, a candidate is disqualified. It has to be that clear. And I say those who don't do it have no courage. You have no courage.
Well, there's no, as Father Imperato said, we're looking for, you know, Father Imperato has said, you know, we may very well have a William Wilberforce in the White House. And for those of you who don't know William Wilberforce, he was the British parliamentarian in the late 18th century that basically blamed himself and those in leadership in the British government for the sin, okay, not the practice, the sin of slavery. And that Trump very well could be a William Wilberforce. And it's so funny that this guy who the never Trumpers on the right, he's such a disgusting guy and he's so crass and he's so crude. He stands up for life more than you do. You so-called pro-life conservatives, you John Kasich's and people like that who sell us down the river every chance you get, who have the opportunity to sign pro-life legislation and you don't do it and you come up with some stupid excuse why you didn't. Donald Trump has at least got the nerve. He went up in front of the UN. He told those leftist thugs there that we protect life. We need to recognize life. Personhood. Keeps using the word personhood. Okay, so let's get it straight. Joe said it exactly right. There is no unity based on a lie. You want to unify on the border, on taxes, on things like that. You want to compromise.
That's fine.
That's fine, and that's what politics is all about.
I'm in.
But politics stops at intrinsic evils. And as a society, we have to prevent intrinsic evils.
And you're on the wrong side of history.
That's right.
Believe it.
And you're on the wrong side of God.
Believe it.
So getting back to Miss Ragsdale, you Episcopal priest, if there is such a thing, you are on the wrong side of God.
Our last segment of the evening, and I think this is a very telling one.
Let's give a quick shout out.
Absolutely.
All right, so Joe's joining us. Eddie's out there. Catherine, you're at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, joined as always by Joe Rossinello. We're deep into the breach, and we're going to go into our last segment. Where are we headed now?
We're going to NYC, New York City, that is. And I think this is a very telling story, and this is something that Joe and I have been beating the drum on. Activist judges. So this is what came out of New York. This is U.S. District Court. It's a Southern District, and the judge's name is Paul Engelmayer. Paul Engelmayer. By the way, he was nominated by Barack Obama.
There's a shock.
Okay, this is what Mr. Engelmayer did, this Justice Engelmayer did this week. He voids a Trump rule protecting doctors and nurses from being forced to do abortions. Now, clearly, the Constitution is not on your side here, Mr. Justice.
Nor is the tradition
and this will be overturned, as so many of Barack Obama's policies that went before the Supreme Court. He had the worst record, maybe ever. Many of the defeats were so sweeping. These are including liberal justices, 9-0, 8-1. This clearly will get defeated. Mm-hmm. But this is the danger when you have a radical like Barack Obama who nominates this man who clearly does not respect the Constitution, clearly does not view the First Amendment and religious liberty as something that's important, that is actually going to force you. You see, now it becomes totalitarianism. Now it's not just, well, I'm pro-choice and you're pro-life. Well, we're going to agree to disagree. No. What this is you're a doctor and I'm making you do this.
That's right.
Or you can't be a doctor.
You know what?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable is right. The problem with these people sometimes is that they think that what they do is unique, or it hasn't been tried before. What was the reading today at Mass? Was it the about the Maccabean brothers? Recently we had All Saints Day, and one of the prayers that we said was to the Maccabean martyrs. So it was the Maccabean brothers. And I bring this up because it was the same thing. The king is trying to force the brothers to eat pork. That's what he's trying to do, to violate what the one brother said was the law of our ancestors, which is to say God's law. These are Jews, okay? These are first century BC Jews, I guess the time of the Maccabeans, okay? And it's the same thing. The king wanted them to do what the king wanted them to do, and to deny their God, to deny the truth. And that's exactly what this judge is doing. Because what they want this woman to do is they want her, in this particular case, I think she was a nurse, okay, where they want to force her to kill a baby in the womb, and she says no. And he, or the judge, like the king in the story, okay, is trying to force her to reject objective truth, which is, I'm not killing a baby. Well, I'm not doing this.
How about, like, your own conscience? Like, why, like, for instance, if this is the law that abortion is legal, and it is, if a hospital performs these procedures, and they do, why would you say this doctor or this nurse, you have to do this? Why can't you just be like, because you're tolerant, right? You're so tolerant, right? You would say, you're opted out. You, Sally, you're willing to do this? Well, then you do it.
Right.
See, if I was tolerant, that's what you would do. But you're not. This is totalitarianism.
That's right.
This is not what America is about. I'll argue with anyone.
Right, because rather than the law or the judge
this
preventing a particular action from occurring, let's say the behavior of a certain person, now they're trying to force a particular behavior. The law, in the case of this judge who represents the law, is saying, your conscience rights be damned, you don't have any conscience rights. I heard one of the more, I know our priest friend told me not to call anybody names, so I won't call anybody names, but I could use certain descriptors, okay? One of the more disgusting people on Fox News is Jessica Tarloff. Okay, I hope she hears this. It was her and it was Harmeet Dillon, who's a pro-life, I think, representative or Republican operative in California, talking about this very thing. Disgusting that she is, Jessica Tarloff. First, she compares what the government forced Kim Davis to do by giving the marriage certificate to same-sex couples to this, okay? Which, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I mean, killing a baby, I don't know, that goes a little bit too far, don't you think, Jessica? Okay, to force a woman to take a life because you want her to, and you're going to compare that to a civil servant not issuing a marriage license, number one. And you know what else she had the let's call it the chutzpah to say, all right? She actually said that this law protecting the conscience rights, in this case of the nurse or any medical practitioner or any doctor, disproportionately affects women of color. This is why I sparingly watch Fox News, and I try to not watch Jessica Tarloff because she really, especially after I eat, because she makes me want to throw up, okay? Let me explain something to you without popping the vein out of my forehead, Miss Tarloff, okay? Black and brown babies don't get born in New York City. According to the tenets of your hero, Margaret Sanger, who wanted to control the population of undesirable people like black and brown babies. So don't accuse the people who want to protect this nurse of racism when it's you who favor a policy that disproportionately kills black babies in New York City in the womb to the tune of 2/3 of pregnancies, black pregnancies in New York City end in abortion. They end with the destruction of a black human life. That's why I bring this up, because your lies that you tell truly are disgusting. Because I'm going to break it to you, woman. You're the racist. And you follow the woman who's a racist, namely Margaret Sanger, and her vision for the black community in America, which was to kill them.
And by the way, Barack Obama was going to take off, I believe it's Andrew Jackson on the $5 bill. Is that correct?
$20 bill.
$20 bill. Was it?
I think it was Jackson, yeah.
Okay. He was going to take him off, and there was a number of women they were considering to put on the 20, one of which, believe it or not, this was proposed by Barack Obama, was Margaret Sanger.
Right, racist.
Now, who spoke up against that? Black Christian preachers in the South, who actually know the history.
Who are not like that, who are not like the lesbian Episcopal bishop.
And so this is also, by the way, I believe Barack Obama, that's purely pandering to his political base. And by the way, that's why many black leaders, Cornel West, who is as left as it gets, has spoken out against Barack Obama and said that he did nothing for black people. Cornel West, a person who is very liberal, but who is a Christian, he's a, like he has liberal.
He self-identifies as a Christian.
But the whole idea.
You can have your problems with Cornel West, but the guy, I do think, speaks from his heart. He could be wrong. I think he's wrong on many things, but nobody could say that he doesn't speak from his heart.
But the point is, what Joe said is exactly right. And Barack Obama proposed this woman to be on a bill of currency.
Well, tell everybody. Listen, you could go and Google it, but tell them what were her basic ideas.
Basically, what he said, she wanted to get rid of undesirable people, and
who were black and brown.
And I believe
people.
the first Planned Parenthood, was it in Harlem?
I believe
think
so.
It was.
Okay, and Planned Parenthood was the organization that she founded. She wanted to control, in her words, not mine, the Negro population in America through abortion, sterilization. She was a eugenicist from whom the Nazis borrowed a whole bunch of their ideas. I had a friend of mine, when I posted this on Facebook one time a couple of years ago, said, "Oh, that would be you'd be right if she actually said those things. Go look it up." So I could tell you.
Well, that's usually what happens.
That's usually when they get cold busted, right. Joe.
That's
what they do is say, "Well, you're taking her out of context." Well, then she's got a whole lot to be taken out of context. All right, you go down. I told you this before. You go down to Planned Parenthood at the corner of Mott Street and Bleecker Street in New York City, and they've renamed it Margaret Sanger Square. And these people are the ones that call everybody else racist.
It's
And they're standing under a sign
you know what,
of a racist.
And that is exactly right. That is exactly right. Look it up. And again, I'll say it again. The people who fought Obama on it were black Christian religious leaders.
Right. And more
in
people,
the South.
And more people need to speak up and tear down their false idols. All those idols like a Margaret Sanger and people like that, okay? Just stone cold racist, man. You can't undo the fact, all you lefties out there who praise her, you can't undo the fact that she gave speeches to the Ku Klux Klan. You can't undo the fact that the Nazis took her eugenicist ideas and implemented them in Nazi Germany. You can't take away her words that are written down. You can't take that away.
And you can't take away that 2 out of 3 black children are aborted in New York City.
Right. And if you support that, are you not racist?
And during Bloomberg's mayor, I don't know.
Regime. Call it a regime.
I think it was his second term. There was actually a billboard in Soho that said that, and he made them take it down. Why?
Tell them what the billboard said. Tell them
it just basically said that two out of 3 black children are murdered in the womb.
In New York City.
And this is true.
Right.
He made them take it down because he was afraid that it would cause riots. They weren't afraid, by the way, when they hogtied Donald Trump in Times Square.
No, that's free expression.
That's fine.
That's
But
wonderful
this
expression.
is just straight up and down truth.
Right.
They made them take the billboard down. So, who's the racist? Who's the racist?
Right. Well, put it like this. I'm not going to call Jessica Tarloff a racist. She certainly is very, picks and chooses the things she wants to talk about when it comes to abortion. How the biggest proponents of abortion in this country were stone cold racists like Margaret Sanger. I'm not going to call Jessica Tarloff a racist, but you need to stop bringing up racism. We want to protect black babies from being murdered in the womb in New York City. So get it straight. I know that you're a leftist. I know you love to engage in doublespeak and you love to manipulate language because you're a leftist, okay? But you can't really manipulate the truth as well as you think you can. The fact is that abortion in New York City kills more black babies than the Ku Klux Klan could have ever dreamed of. And that's your organization that supports that. They're called Planned Parenthood. So let's get it straight.
And who do they market to? Where are the abortion clinics?
Harlem.
They're sure as heck not on the Upper East Side.
Right, black neighborhoods, Hispanic neighborhoods.
So next time you start calling people racist, throw that one in your stew and mix it around.
Right. Yeah. Anyway,
that's all we got.
Another segment in the breach. And we will say that we live in a time right now where, and this was prophesied a very long time ago, when the truth becomes a lie and the lie becomes the truth, and darkness, becomes a light and light becomes a darkness. And how deep indeed will the darkness be?
You got to do that like John Karapi, dude. You can't.
I know. And actually, with the beard, kind of look like it. How deep indeed will the darkness be?
Oh yes.
But that's why in the face of this, remember what St. John said in his gospel, that the light came into the world and the darkness was not able to overcome it. No matter how dark it seems. I mean, we're men, we're not God. So what is our task? What are we to do in this darkness that we have all around us? Speak the truth.
Well, he also,
the truth is the light.
And also, interesting enough, when you talk about the gospel, John, he said, the light came in the world, but the world preferred the darkness to the light. You see, we are countercultural. We must go against the grain of the world. That's the road to heaven. That's the road to heaven. You don't follow the crowd. You go against the grain. And then you'll be a light.
And that's what we're trying to be. At the front line with Joe and Joe every Sunday night, 8 o'clock sharp on Facebook Live. We want to thank you all for joining us as you always do and always supporting us. Please keep us in your prayers. We have some opportunities that look pretty promising that we spoke to you about a while ago, particularly with the Crusade channel. It'd be a big step up and we can reach a much wider audience. We're never going to forget everybody who's brought us to the dance and who supported us along the way. Joe Campo, Jonathan Ross, all you wonderful people out there. Frank joined recently. Frank Caranzano joined recently to listen to us. So we thank you again. And remember that we're going to keep on talking. We're going to keep on speaking the truth. And we're going to keep having it as our conversation, because our conversation is your conversation. And that conversation, well, that's going on everywhere. So we'll see you next week.
And keep us in your prayers. You're always in ours. Have a good week.